The riders burst from the smoke below Castle Rock, while arrows screamed over Edinburgh like iron winter rain. Behind them, torches surged through the winds, and the fortress gates waited like the mouth of judgment. A wounded messenger clutched Scotland's seal, racing uphill as enemy boots hammered the stones behind him. Above the chase, Edinburgh Castle rose from volcanic rock, impossible, dark, and hungry for another siege.
One shout reached the gatehouse, then the portcullis thundered down, cutting pursuit from survival.
It's down! Hold them back now! The gate!
But the first cannon answered from below, shaking the cliff and waking every ghost inside Scotland's fortress. For centuries, whoever held this rock did not merely hold walls, but the heartbeat of Scotland. Castle Rock had carried warriors long before kings arrived, its cliffs guarding fire, fear, and memory. By the Middle Ages, Edinburgh Castle became a royal stronghold, watching roads, crowns, rebellions, and approaching armies. Its position was brutal and brilliant, with cliffs on three sides and only one true approach. Every attacking commander understood the same truth. The castle could bleed a kingdom before surrendering itself. Inside its walls, monarchs prayed, soldiers sharpened steel, and prisoners heard freedom vanish beyond the ramparts. Yet Edinburgh Castle was never just stone. It was a promise Scotland kept rebuilding after catastrophe. When war came, the city below held its breath, because the guns above could decide everything. The castle's defenders watched banners gather in the distance, counting enemies by torchlight and drum beats. At dawn, the first assault climbed the approach, shields raised against arrows falling from the batteries. Men slipped on blood and rain, while commanders screamed for ladders beneath the murdering walls. From the battlements, defenders hurled stones, fired bolts, and turned the narrow ascent into a grave. The attackers pulled back, broken and furious, but siege warfare never depended on one failed charge. They brought heavier guns, dragged through mud by horses, curses, and men who feared the cliff. When artillery opened, Castle Rock seemed to roar back, throwing thunder across Edinburgh's roofs and closes. Smoke swallowed the esplanade, and every blast carved another scar into the fortress's ancient face. Dense smoke and black powder haze turned the battlements into a half-seen wall of punishment. Still, the defenders held, rationing bread, powder, sleep, and hope with the discipline of desperation.
No waste. Powder next. Keep it tight.
Somewhere inside, a commander faced the cruel question every besieged fortress eventually asks of its keeper. How long can loyalty survive when hunger becomes louder than banners, prayers, and royal names? Scotland's story pressed against those walls, because Edinburgh Castle had changed hands through ambition and betrayal. During the Wars of Independence, the fortress became a prize both symbol and weapon for rival powers. A castle could be captured by armies, but it could also be taken by daring and silence.
In darkness, men climbed where no sane attacker should climb, trusting rope, rock, and nerve.
Almost there. Wish for guards. Got it.
One loose stone could have killed them. One shout could have awakened the entire garrison. But surprise is a blade sharper than any sword when courage reaches the wall before dawn. By morning, the flag above the castle told Edinburgh that power had shifted again. Centuries later, the Lang siege turned the fortress into a furnace of politics, artillery, and loyalty.
Supporters of Mary Queen of Scots held the castle while Scotland fractured around the infant James.
Ready the cannon. We hold for Mary. They're at the gate!
For months, the guns hammered stone, and the city listened to its own capital being wounded.
William Kirkcaldy of Grange stood inside the storm, defending a cause that was collapsing beyond rescue.
The defenders answered shot with shot, but every day reduced their walls, supplies, and choices.
Walls cracking. Powder's low!
Then the great bombardment began, and medieval confidence met the merciless mathematics of modern artillery. Towers cracked, masonry fell, and the proud fortress shuddered as smoke climbed into the Scottish sky.
This was no clean heroic painting. It was hunger, splintered stone, and men trapped by allegiance.
Supplies are low. Barely enough for the weak, sir. Hold the line.
When the siege ended, the castle survived. But its old medieval defenses had been brutally humbled.
The lesson was carved into Edinburgh forever. Even the strongest rock must answer changing war. Still, the fortress did not disappear. It adapted, rebuilt, and watched new centuries march beneath it. Mons Meg, the giant cannon, became a symbol of royal power and terrifying technological ambition. The crown jewels and the stone of destiny gave the castle a sacred national weight. This transformed political legitimacy into a tangible presence. Soldiers drilled in its yards, prisoners waited in darkness, and centuries guarded horizons filled with uncertainty. Every generation found a different Edinburgh Castle. Yet each saw the same warning on the rock. To enemies, it said Scotland would not be entered cheaply, silently, or without consequence.
To Scots, it said memory could be battered, besieged, and scarred, yet still stand. If this fortress has held your gaze, follow the story deeper, because Scotland remembers through stone.
Steady the line. Aye, ready.
Today, tourists climb the same approach where soldiers once ran under arrows, smoke, and command. They photograph walls that once shook beneath cannon fire, not always hearing the buried thunder. Present quiet rests on walls that once shook under cannon fire. But at sunset, the castle changes, and the rock seems older than the city itself.
The wind moves across the batteries like a breath from every defender who refused surrender.
Edinburgh below glows with modern life, while above it, the fortress keeps its ancient posture. It has seen kings crowned, queens endangered, rebels broken, and armies swallowed by time. That is why Edinburgh Castle is not simply visited, it is confronted like a witness. Its stones ask who paid for survival, and whose names disappeared beneath the victory songs.
The answer is never simple, because Scotland's glory has always carried grief inside its crown.
And when night falls over Castle Rock, the fortress still looks ready for the next attack.